Alright everybody, welcome back to the Dota 2 Rad&Dire Cup 2015. This is our second best of 3 of the day. We're here in the winner bracket semis, and this is CDEC Youth versus CDEC Classic. I'm Basskip, joining me is Scant, and it's my pleasure to welcome into the broadcast. So Scant, how you doing?
I'm doing alright. Now fully and completely awake, and looking forward to seeing the two CDEC squads going up against each other. Of course, we'll recognize CDEC Youth for those who don't know. I guess watching this is 3 of their players were kind of the core of CIS game, which was one of the top teams in China in 2014. They just barely missed a slot in the international and made it into the play-in series and got knocked out there. And that's Inflame Demons and June. And iG obviously is like a known fixture in the Chinese scene, not quite made it. He actually had a stint in LGD for a while. Last year, I think, but it didn't last that long. So it's really just AME who's like a newer actual youth player. So I would say as far as the youth or academy teams in China go, this is definitely like the one of the most existing credentials as a team. Like it wouldn't be unreasonable to see them as like a team in their own right rather than just a youth team.
Yeah, definitely. They've all got a lot of experience under their belts, all these players, aside from, as you said, AIM. So it'll be really interesting to see how this particular matchup goes as well, since to my knowledge, for the most part, the academy or youth or B teams or whatever do tend to play quite a lot against the big brother teams or whatever you want to call them. So if anyone, if we're going to see anything interesting, it might actually be in this game, because these two teams may have a pretty good read on one another. And it's been hard to get a read on CDEC's overall play style, since they still haven't been playing all that much recently. So I'm very curious to see how they go with this patch. It seems like it's a patch that could be very well suited to their overall playstyle, so they might be making a bit of a resurgence here.
CDEC's turn to
yeah, they pretty much positively destroyed Fanzone yesterday. That was the match that I cast. And game 1 they had a draw strat. It's interesting that they've banned out the draw themselves here. A hero that they're much more sensitive to ever since they got destroyed by TNC at WCA by TNC's draw strategy. But they do also let through the Nature's Prophet. It's a hero that today so far we just saw banned in the first phase in both games. And it's a hero that we've talked about being picked more and more recently. The one thing that has stayed the same is that Dazzle's picked up right at the start of the draft, which is now 3 out of 3 games for the day. And one hero that's from the previous patch to this patch, to even the patch before that, all the way back to, I think, before TI5, this hero is just like maintained consistency as a top tier support. And I think it got a couple of nerfs in this patch. It got one buff to the poison touch, actually making it less mana at level 1. But the nerfs were just, I think small nerfs to the mana cost of Shadowgrave. Is that right? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I'm not actually 100% sure, so I'm gonna have a look. So we had, Shadowgrave cast point was changed by 0.05 seconds. So there's that, and then the mana cost is now a constant 150, and it used to scale down to from 140 to 110. They also removed the flying vision on Weave. It's now just ground vision. So a couple of nerfs, but nothing crazy.
That's what people talked about actually in patch analysis, the Weave thing. But I honestly feel like that's something that was like unreasonably like useful about the hero, that doesn't need, like, it's not fundamental to the hero that it gave you that flying vision. It was nice that it did and we got used to it, but the hero is about healing and graving people, and it's going to do that perfectly fine in this patch too.
Yeah, I think the range was a little bit crazy for the AoE, and the range combined with the fact that it gave flying vision was a bit of a problem. And we've seen a general trend, if you look over the course like the last 5 patches or so, that a lot of abilities have had random bits of vision that they used to have kind of removed. And in effect, it kind of buffs the abilities that are designed to actually give vision, like Beastmaster's Hawk and stuff like that. So I'm definitely not opposed to seeing some of those nerfs.
Yeah, completely agree. They're much more deliberate in how they design the vision-based spells these days. But interested to see the Terrorblade ban, actually. Not a hero that's, coming to this patch we would have expected to see ban that much necessarily. But we have been seeing it getting picked up a lot recently, especially with the Dazzle. In fact, I almost want to say that it's almost like the new Dazzle Huskar. Like, if there's one hero that Dazzle tips off to you at the moment, it's the Terrorblade, because you can, like, use the Grave, keep you alive, make sure you get the Sunder value, and Terrorblade's always been every version of this hero, regardless of how they change it. If you're getting good value on Sunder, it's like it's always ridiculous, and Dazzle kind of allows that. So I think it makes sense to ban it out and not have to deal with it in this game.
Yeah, and that's the really frustrating thing about Dazzle that people were talking about a little bit during... I think the pros were talking about it as well during the summit, that they were mentioning that, look, the big thing about Dazzle isn't necessarily even his strength individually as a hero, but it's the kind of things that he enables. The 5-man pushing strategies, the cores that otherwise wouldn't see a whole lot of play, and you grab it and then you kind of get some free bans along the way as well, which is, you know, even more value during the draft. But I guess part of the we can go back to talking about this. The part of the reason that CDEC probably leave the Nature's Prophet through is that they do pick up the Spirit Breaker themselves here. So they've actually got some amazing ways to deal with split push pressure from CDEC. They've got the Glimpse now, and they've got the Spirit Breaker charge for some vision, and that's also going to work pretty nicely against the Slark, which it seems like a bit of a strange pick to me if you're CDEC youth here.
Yeah, I completely agree. Picking the Slark into the Disruptor and the Spirit Breaker, even the Darkseid to some extent, just because you got Surged, it feels like there's a lot of things that counteract the natural advantages that Slark usually gives you. One advantage would be the way the Slark matches up against the Darkseid in the lane, at least, because Surge is not going to save you if you get pounced on. So that might be one. I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of something that's been talked about recently is the creeps are now meeting a bit closer to the safe lane again. The off lane's a bit more difficult, so we're seeing heroes that have to find different ways to get value in those off lane. And at the same time, the safe laners need to make sure that they give a difficult time to the off laners. So Darkseid can go to the jungle, but maybe they want to try and force that situation. At the same time, if this is a Darkseid Spirit Breaker dual lane, then I don't see Slark threatening those kills. I feel like it's the Darkseid Spirit Breaker that are making the threats.
Yeah, and I mean they do have the Dazzle and the Lion, who are both pretty good laning and zoning supports, but Slark, when it actually comes to his laning stage, is pretty weak, is somewhat susceptible to bullying, so that could be an issue here. The one other thing that CDEC, I guess, that CDEC Gaming do have to fall back on is that they can always kind of have the Darkseer run into the jungle relatively early on. I even saw in some of the MDL SEA games that I was casting, Zhang Zai, they were picking Darkseer for him every single game, and every single game he would just go Stout Shield a set of Tangos and start straight in the jungle and jungle until he got his bottle, like a bottle in level 3, level 4, and then he might consider going to the off lane, but his preference was really to just secure his initial farm and not really apply a whole lot of pressure. And that's not a popular playstyle, but it is something that exists and something that Darkseer can always keep in mind when you're looking at a really difficult tri lane that has a disruptor or something in it. Yeah,
so it's God has actually been playing. Moving from the Darkseid to the Spirit Breaker. God has been playing Spirit Breaker a lot recently. He played it yesterday. The series I cast, I think he played it in both games, and I was commenting on the fact that he's definitely a player who stands out to me when he plays heroes like Spirit Breaker, Bounty Hunter, heroes that are conventionally known for only being in an aggressive lane or roaming early on. One of the things that he does impressively is sometimes he'll just be in the safe lane, and it's you don't expect a support Spirit Breaker to just sit in the safe lane and zone, but God is like quite intelligent about what he does with his time. Similarly, when it goes into the late game, you'll see him making the charges which are like very clearly space creating charges, charges that aren't even going to set up kills, but just to like draw the attention somewhere in a fight or something like that. So it makes sense that it's the starting pick in their draft, and as we've said as well, the way it interacts with the Nature's Prophet in the stock. The Abaddon, which has just come up, I don't know if you say Abaddon or Abaddon. It's annoying that this is a thing, but everyone seems to have different pronunciations. That's maybe one hero that interacts favorably against the likes of the Spirit Breaker, the Darkseid Ember Spirit in this game, and we've certainly seen eHome toward the end of the last patch really abusing the Abaddon and like counteracting the aggression with it.
Yeah, I really think picking up a little bit more 5-man as well is really important for CDEC Youth here, because if you look at CDEC Gaming's lineup, they have so much pick-off between the Spirit Breaker, the Disruptor, and the Ember Spirit especially. So if you're letting them dictate the pace of the game through pickoffs, then I feel like CDEC Youth are naturally going to fall behind. But they've got the Dazzle, they've got the Abaddon now, so they're going to be able to hopefully put some kind of 5-man together, I think.
Is the Abaddon mid in this game?
I don't know. It does definitely look like he's core. I don't know if it's...
I mean, he's core, and this hero's been picked as a core mostly in the off lane.
Yeah.
But when you have the Nature's Prophets, it's like, okay, so I guess maybe because they, yeah, actually I don't know. I'm not. They could do it either way.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, it could be. They've actually got options. I mean, the Nature's Prophet and the Slark, not amazing mid heroes by any means, but you know, could kind of hold their own. They've got the Dazzle, who's a decently strong dual lane mid hero, so maybe that's the kind of line that they're playing along here, is that they're gonna have the dual lane harassing on mid. And yeah, Prophet's got some boots picked up, so it looks like it is going to be your Dazzle, Abaddon, dual lane mid, off lane Prophet / jungle, and then Slark just heading up to the safe lane. That is gonna make the safe lane a little bit more susceptible to this Darkseer plus potential Spirit Breaker pressure, which I think is going to be a bit concerning. But we'll see.
I'm very interested to see how this Abaddon builds this game, because I think there was a stage a couple months ago where Loda was playing safe lane Abaddon for Alliance, while they were still struggling in that phase, but beyond that, this hero's always been support or offlane. It's not really like commonly picked as an actual farming core. And I don't know, like, do you still go for the Vlads and the mech and that kind of thing, or I know at least Loda's build I think was to go for stuff like S and Y and be an actual combat oriented hero. So I'm not sure. It looked like from the draft that this hero would be to like shore up the push. But then is the benefit of having it in a farming position just that you can get those items a lot quicker?
Yeah, I think that might just be the line of play. I'm expecting to see some kind of like Vlad's S and Y build potentially. Could go a little bit more supporty, a little bit more sustainy, as you mentioned. Could maybe see a mech, but I feel like just between the fact that he's going to get pretty good levels and should have some good points in Mistcoil, and the fact that they've got the Dazzle, they may not even need to have all that much more sustain for the lineup. What do we got here? Got some Treants coming in to try and pull the creep wave out from underneath Aggressive's nose. So looks like it's going to be successful, actually. So this is the benefit of the Prophet offlane. He's still all the way back behind his tier 2 tower at the moment, just microing the Treants to be a nuisance.
Yeah, so I mean, Abaddon 1v1 against Razor seems like Razor should just. I mean, right now, whatever, neck and neck, but it seems like Razor would definitely get the lead, and Dazzle was there, then left, and Lion was there, now also left. And it feels like they're just happy to be running this 1v1 lane, which, in a sense, to me, it almost ends up putting them with 2 offlaners. I mean, it looks like, for now, Inflame's just actually using his Mistcoil to get a lot of blast hits, and maybe that's the play. Maybe that's...
First blood is toast.
Looks like they just got the... Didn't even have a glimpse, they just kinetic field, Searing Chains, charge, and easy first blood there for CDEC.
I guess because they know that he's got summons level 1, he's not going to be able to teleport away, and the field can actually hold him down longer than the level 1 glimpse, the work it can do. But I'm very interested. I mean, the reason I missed the kill is I'm really interested in the fact that it seems like Inflame, all of his CSs, yeah, he's gotten 6 creeps, and I think 5 of them are with Mistcoils. So this is maybe like part of the thinking here, that this is a hero that's going to fit into our draft, that lanes against Razor, and actually isn't being punished at all by this cheeky static link, because it doesn't matter if you steal the damage, he doesn't have to right click to get the creeps. There's just such a short cooldown on the Mistcoil.
Yeah, it's very Oracle-esque in a way. Some people played a little bit of Oracle mid and just rely on the low cooldown spam to be able to get your CS, but yeah, it seems to be working out. And this is a very big departure from the offlane Abaddon build, which tends to be the 2 early points up in the curse, just applying a lot of pressure, getting up in the face of the supports, but not the case this time around. XZ, sorry, going to take a lot of damage here, but there is a charge coming in from Garter. Looks like some damage going to be dealt into Icy. He's going to actually have a little bit of a walk to get anywhere here. Gets the Poison Touch under the Spirit Breaker, and looks like that's going to be the end of that, so gonna have to rinse reset before we can go for another charge. But yeah, this mid Abaddon is very intriguing. Oh, is he doing it with the Sprout? Oh my god.
The Sprout, yep.
So is it
another one of these.
Still just the same thing? Is it just right here?
Yeah. Same spots.
Dire's bottom tower.
Although it seems like he pulled to both camps, but so half the creeps are gonna go back because they saw the neutrals, but he's going to go for the pool yet again, and
Dire's middle tower is
this one should work out just fine, going straight to the Ancients.
It's so easy because the timing doesn't need to be precise at all, because the Ancients are running this way and your creeps are running down mid this way, so the chances that you're going to be able to connect the two of them together seems very good. So, well, there you go. Mid pull's happening. And they've got the Abaddon who can tank decently underneath the tower and grab the CS. So this is actually looking like a pretty good way to tip this, or at least keep this mid lane even.
Well, again, like we've said so many times, the more this happens, the more quickly I think it gets addressed directly. If they want to address it, which seems more than likely considering what's been done to contact all the other kinds of mid pools that we've seen in the past. They've basically all been forced out of the game, so there's a new one. Let's deal with that.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with this incarnation is that all of the abilities to do it are relatively cheap, like Power Cog, Sprout, and Ice Shards. It's not a huge investment for the hero to come and do this kind of thing compared to, you know, if you're talking about like a toss on a tiny or something like that.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
It's a much bigger portion of his mana pool, and it's much more vulnerable. A charge coming in out of the trees here from Garter, but not really going to do anything. Looks like they're just going to apply some pressure to this Slark and try and shut down the CS. He is the lead farmer in the game right now, so AIM doing a really good job. But yeah, it's been a relatively slow early game thus far.
Yeah, we'll wait to see where it's either Garter with early ganks with the double iron shell, or else when aggressive goes online from the side of CDC. That's probably when we expect to see, you know, the fighting starting. But then again, you're against the Nature's Prophet, can teleport into any fights. The Abaddon that can save people. Well, they're charging onto that Abaddon actually, and good timing because he's level 5. Before he gets to 6, I think they take him down.
Inflame just getting greedy, getting up in the face of Shiki, and he is going to pay for it pretty big time here. He was just this creep away, this range creep dying from getting his level 6, so I think that may have been what he was banking on, that the shield would pop and he would get his 6 and would be able to dive or apply a lot more pressure, but yeah, the charge came in from the Spirit Breaker and makes that a very easy kill. So CDEC Classic getting off to a little bit of a lead here. Don't really have the biggest playmaking heroes either necessarily. I mean, Nature's Prophet can kind of TP in and get things done once he has his level 6. Abaddon not really a roamer at all, and Slark also kind of wants to sit and farm for a little bit. So I worry that if this early game goes badly, then they are just going to fall prey to those pickoffs of CDEC that we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think that CDEC Youth's hope is that with the rotations from Abaddon and Dazzle and Furon being able to TP whoever he wants, that the way they can deal with CDEC Classic's aggression is kind of just like reacting really quickly and effectively. But I mean, so far it hasn't happened, but so far where the kills have happened, it's not really been a possibility. Usually what you see from CDEC Classic is at a certain point they like make a rotation into enemy jungle, enemy safe lane, pressure actually under the tower, and I think that's where CDEC Youth's draft will really get tested for the first time, when that kind of, you know, just calculated aggression starts happening.
Yeah, you see the thing for me about CDEC is that they're always, there's never any wasted time when they go for those kind of rotations. It always pretty much happens immediately. Like the Spirit Breaker will already be in position top, and then the Darkseer is also already there, and they've loaded up the first Ion Shell, and then the Ember immediately TPs in, gets another Ion Shell, and they just go. There's less time to kind of give it away. They are charging in here onto the Nature's Prophet bottom lane. Some mass TPs coming in to try and keep him alive, but they do already find the kill. Aggressive running forward. We had a glimpse going back as well on some of these TPs coming in. Aggressive trying for the TP out, and he's going to be just fine. Makes it all the way back to the fountain. So mass TPs from CDEC Youth, but not a single counter kill.
And this actually means Icy's maybe under pressure now in the safe lane, although I guess with Slark's ulti you can get back there kind of quickly. Slark is maybe one of the better heroes to justify like TPing into a fight, even if you don't make the kill, because you run back to your lane so quickly.
Can we get some dashes here? Icy does have his Grave available, throws it out now. Prophet comes TPing in, or at least pump faking it for the time being. Slark comes around the corner, so they are going to get Garter, but XE finishes up that kill. He's got a Quelling Blade already, actually, to get out of the Sprout, so planning ahead for this dive. And looks like he might be able to make it out. Slark running up, but doesn't have the pounce for quite some time. Does have the potential dive with the ultimate, but they don't know who else is TP'd in potentially, so just going to let the Darkseer go here. Ends up being a 1-for-1.
Demons has to be careful with this bot lane. I think if he's too far off his tower and he gets spotted, he could easily get dived. He doesn't even have mana. I mean, sure he's got his stick, so he could get one spell off, but I guess what protects him is the Spirit Breaker's the other side of the map. He's actually charging onto the mid lane right now, but there's a level 6 up on Inflame, so this would be a very difficult kill.
Got decent control for the time being, but not even going to be able to... Oh, they do manage to force out the ultimate. The threshold on that level 1 ult is so bad.
He's aggressive.
And aggressive comes in now, so they pop the ult successfully. Shield's going to pop, another charge coming in. Prophet considering exactly how he wants to engage in here. They do get the Wrath of Nature out. Inflame going to be graved up, but that leaves Icy vulnerable. Great stun comes out of Demons, however. Garder's now trapped inside the trees, does have a TP, but I think there's still stuns available. And looks like once again he will be brought down by the Slark. Aggressive with the Invisor. It's going to be able to slink away, but once again, it's all 5 of CDEC.Y Youth being forced to rotate to counter gank there.
Really speaks to the credit of CDEC Classic that they came so close to making that kill in the first place. I feel like the tools are all there for them to not make the kill, and Aggressive actually wants to go on Junior, and I think this is a solo kill. Whether he gets out is a different question. Looks like he'll be fine. Same as last time. Fighting the spot with the shield on, TPing out, and until Lion gets to ulti, there's not really that burst. Until he gets to blink, there's not really that mobility and disable, so Aggressive is really making the most out of what he can do in this game. Like that early peak of Ember Spirit that, I mean, these days we talk a lot about the Ember Spirit's late peak with a lot of items, but the early peak of Ember Spirit was, historically at least, when the hero first became popular, the main reason people were picking it, and this is an extraordinary example of the value you can get out of the hero so early in the game.
Yeah, and the Lion is the only hero that he needs to keep track of as well this game. I mean, maybe he can be bursted, but it's only the Lion who's really threatening him in terms of dives, and so long as he's got a remnant up somewhere, or still has remnants available to just jump over cliffs, then he's going to be just fine. So this is really scary. You're going to have this Ion Shelled Ember Spirit running around with very few tools to deal with him. And he knows it. Look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this positioning. He's just underneath the tower, getting some auto attacks off. Knows that the Lion doesn't have close to the range at the moment, especially during daytime, to threaten him at all.
I'm just following this Abaddon around because I feel like it's already becoming a bit unclear as to what his role in this game is meant to be. Like, is it just that because you have the Nature's Prophet in the off lane, it's fine to have like a less farmy hero in mid because the Nature's Prophet's going to take farm and scale? Maybe that's it, but I don't know. It feels a bit... I was saying the same thing about Viper yesterday to God. It's like, it feels a bit like, either you're going to find a lot of farm in the hero and then scale, or your plans to like have some early impact with your team grouping up and doing things, but it doesn't feel like either of those plans is working out for Inflame here right now.
Yeah, he's a really bad hero when you're playing from behind as well, so I think that's also kind of playing into it here. CDEC Youth were kind of hoping the lanes were going to go alright, they were going to get their initial items, and they were going to be able to 5-man and take some tier 1s to start getting things going, but CDEC have just come right out of the gate with these early ganks and the early pressure and building up this early lead, so I don't even know if CDEC Youth, if they 5-man at this point, if it's going to be enough.
CDEC are going for another dive here. Aggressive actually part of the gank again, although he's going to TP out. And that's another thing. I mean, really good decisions being made by this player about, exactly how much time to spend looking for kills and when it's been enough, and I need to actually go back to farming. It's very, very important on Ember Spirit. Like, one of the main strengths of the hero is how he can jump between lanes, and you still need to decide when you're going to go, how long you're going to wait for a kill, and how much time you need to spend farming.
Yeah, gonna pick up some bonus CS here with the Treant as well. CDEC Youth still just trying to finish little items. Nature's Prophet's going for a drum. Abaddon is also going for a drum. And Slark, well, hopefully we won't see a third drum. Maybe it'll just be a blink dagger or something like that. Looks like once again Garder is going to be the one ganked up. It's the third death for him this game, and that's the third kill for CDEC Youth. It's actually only the 5-position Spirit Breaker that they've managed to kill up until this point.
Yeah, it might be... No, there was an attempt maybe at a glimpse in the mid lane to return, but I almost feel like when a Garda plays Spirit Breaker, a lot of the time it's part of his job to be the one. He's like the alarm system. That's what I've described him as before. He, get in the way of enemy ganks, make sure that they're not killing anyone else. It's fine if, just draw them to kill him. He's getting his levels anyway. He's going to be level 6 soon. And he can fulfill his purpose perfectly fine with the items he has once he has level 6.
Yeah, and Aggressive now has his Boots of Travel up, so he's ready to join his team at a moment's notice, just that little bit more easily. And one of the things that we haven't even talked about this game, but is something that people used to talk about a bit when Ember Spirit first sort of arrived on the scene, and what kind of role we were going to see him played in, was that he's amazing against Nature's Prophet. That he shuts down Nature's Prophet's split push perfectly. Slark gonna get glimpsed back here into the Static Storm, manages to get off the ultimate before he gets dragged back into it. But they do still get the level 1 vacuum to cancel the TP out. XZ in some trouble, however. Will be forced to start surging away. Finger of Death committed just to bring him down. Q retreating back a little bit further, but now Shiki's arrived on full HP. Plasma Field brings down 1. They lose the Nature's Prophet. They're going to have to leave in Flame for the time being. Does get a little bit more health up off of the wall illusion, but still going to be brought back with another strike and brought down. Aggressive with the double kill. Not exactly what CDEC were hoping for. They didn't manage to get the Slark in the end, but still a great little fight, and they're still going to get this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, so I think I'm figuring out more why I feel like this Abaddon pick looks like a bit of a confused pick here. Just because we're used to seeing the hero. I mean, if you're not playing it in that like Alliance loader position where you get lots of farm, you're not playing it in the we're grouping up, taking objectives where at very least what it needs to do is have like an ally that's really important that it just keeps alive constantly with heals and shields. And I don't feel like Abaddon's had that hero in this game so far. You know, he's kind of just playing for himself. Slark, maybe now that he's picked up the dagger, Abaddon can be like, okay, I'm on protect Slark duty. But up until now, there hasn't really been anyone making plays on the side of CDEC.Y. Like, all the plays they made have been like huge rotations to kill Spirit Breaker, basically.
I'm gonna jump in here on Cheeky mid. They got that shield up on the Slark. And does manage to get the link out. And aim going all the way in here with the dive. Shadow Dance coming out. They will get the last nuke. Inflame secures that kill. Pretty big dive. Unfortunately, nobody on CDEC ready to counter initiate. They were all just pushing down on the bottom lane, looking for this tier 1 tower.
Yeah, they will get the tower, I'm pretty sure. But it's still, that's the biggest kill I think that CDEC.Y have made all game. And immediately making use of the Slark dagger, and Abaddon is kind of walking around the Slark, also even using the drum charge.
Right. This
Looks
is pretty
like
big
they
for
actually
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoke wraparound coming in. Q might be in some trouble. June gets the TP off, comes in looking for XZ, manages to Crawling Blade his way out, but Q not quite so lucky, drops down all of his spells. Before he dies, XZ trying for the TP out. Looks like he is going to get it. Demon's unable to get in range. Meanwhile, intercepted back by the tower. Aggressive actually finding Icy. So just turning it into a 1-for-1 support trade. And given that that fight started while CDEC Classic didn't have the Razor available, that it was looking like it was going to be a 4v5, I think that was about as well as they could have hoped that was going to go.
Aggressive is 6-0 at like 16 minutes, and he also has pretty much the highest last hits in the game. He's just like really having a superb game, I think, in terms of balancing things out, doing everything, doing all the right things when he needs to, and yeah, what looks like a very promising rotation from CDEC.Y ends up being like, you know, just a fair trade because Aggressive recognizes that, hey, I can go kill the Dazzle because Lion's over here busy being part of this gank. And as we said earlier, Lion's like the hero that Aggressive needs to be worried about.
Yeah. Fortunately for Demons, he hasn't died just yet, has managed to get some pretty good participation going. So he's got pretty good net worth, 1,500 gold towards his Blink Dagger. And that's going to be extremely important. They are going to glimpse back the Abaddon here, but not the hero that you want to be going on. And now comes Slark, popping onto Q, does manage to burst him down. They're now looking towards Cheeky, who might be in some trouble. Just going to pop all of his spells, but getting bursted by the Finger of Death. Darkseer comes in, pops the mech, but it's not going to be enough for the save, and the dive continues onto XZ now. A few more auto attacks from the Slark. He's going to finish this one. Double kill picked up for aim. And CDEC.Y find themselves in a great position to start 5-manning down this tier 1 tower. So it took them a little bit to find their rhythm, but we are starting to see what their lineup is capable of now that they've got this Blink Dagger up on the Slark.
Yeah, it seems like that was the item really that brought it all together, that made them ready to group up and do things, and it's starting to look a bit scary actually, because we see Nature's Prophet building into Orchid and Lion getting close to Blink, and at that point Aggressive is not even that much of a threat himself because it's so easy for them to find ways to lock him down. And all of a sudden, if you look at it from that perspective, like CDEC Classic are maybe the ones that are under pressure in this game.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Very well could be. I mean, that fight mid was a little bit bad from the perspective that they just had people trickling in. So I feel like if we had a full-on 5v5, that the mech is probably going to have a pretty big impact from XZ. But it is concerning to see Shiki being bursted down as easily as he is. And these deaths on the Disruptor are going to hurt him a decent amount. But alright, CDEC gonna look to fire back here as they do go for a 4-man smoke. Aggressive in tow, just pushing up the mid lane. looking for this tier 1 tower, and CDEC.Y a little bit split up in their
It's
approach
lucky
right now.
here.
Slark's gonna run right into them. Static Storm, Kinetic Field, Vacuum, everything dropped at him with the multiple ion shells. He just gets bursted down, and now they're gonna look for more. Slark does have a buyback available, but it looks like they're just gonna back out here. Inflame manages to get back successfully, and CDEC.Y is just gonna sacrifice the tier 1 tower with only the Slark pickoff happening.
Yeah, it's really a bit of a gift to see that Classic. They couldn't have hoped for anything better than the Slark just running up the ramp into them, getting caught out, giving them the free tar, and I think shifts the momentum of the game somewhat in their favor again. But yeah, I'm looking at these big item timings because Lion has got his Blink and Nature's Prophet very close to Orchid, and I feel like maybe even just the two of them together could be making pickoffs on Ember Spirit when especially when the shield's down. If he's still pushing alone.
Yeah, and the best thing is if they've got coordination down, I think they can actually just have the Lion running around and the Nature's Prophet just sits on his TP, and then whenever the Lion finds an opportunity, I think you can actually still just TP in and get the Orchid off in time to potentially find the kill. So that's going to be a little bit dangerous for Aggressive. He is farming amazingly well though. He's going to have his Battle Fury up in just a second, assuming that he doesn't die to this gank. Demons is going to be looking for the instant initiation. Aggressive does have himself a Remnant to jump back to. Is he going to get this off in time? No, actually, this gets hexed. It looks like this is going to be a death. All right. I think he was shopping at the time. He was buying his Perseverance.
Yeah, because that was a slow reaction actually.
Yeah,
he definitely had the opportunity to jump.
Yeah, that was definitely slow for Aggressive. Like normally, I think he'd even be hovering. Was not anticipating that they would be just around the corner like that. So really good pickoff for CDEC.Y. There you go.
In the grander scheme of things, it's almost like it's fair, it's calm, because like they got a bit lucky with Slark running into them on the other side of the map just before. So it's like, okay, fine, we each got one of these like fairly fortunate kills where we smoke ganked in, like right into the enemy carry on their own.
Slark is going for a Scotty at the moment, looks like just a straight up rush on that one. Abaddon's got the Vlads now, so a pickoff could potentially pave the way for Roshan for CDEC.Y before too long, and that could be a pretty big boon to their push. They're probably going to need, I don't know if they need the Aegis to start breaking through tier 2s, but it is going to make it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always very significant. Wow, that's actually quite a dramatic pickup 20 minutes into the game. It's going to be the early gem on Q's Disruptor, so I think that's important. I mean, if you look at the warding situation right now, they could potentially find all 3 Observer wards of CDEC.Y and just like clean up their jungle completely. They look in the right places, and that's in this kind of game where we see like momentum swinging back and forth. If one team just has map control and complete vision, it's I think extremely decisive actually. But looks like they're actually going to jump up to the top lane before looking for any wards here. And
bit of an awkward Thunderstrike, bit of an awkward glimpse. They're actually going to lose the Disruptor immediately. And now more trouble. Charge comes through. Garner buying some more space. Ice is going to get bursted. Inflame still has the ultimate available. They come in with the silence. It's onto Aggressive, but he's still burning away. June finds himself right in the middle of the wall, and he gets Nether struck back. He's going to be in trouble. Shiki looping around the trees at the moment, trying to survive. Will be brought down by Inflame, who picks up the double, but Aim finds himself in a bit of a tricky situation. Will be able to find the kill on XZ. Demons comes jumping in, doesn't get the stun off quite in time, as Garter does go for the charge, but Inflame, surviving through everything, is going to find the triple. Aggressive has some remnants up. Just going to throw one over the cliff, and we'll be able to keep on running. Did they get the gem back?
Yeah, the courier.
Okay, courier managed to recover it there. That could have been disastrous for CDEC Classic if they lost that bit.
I think CDEC Classic overforced it, but I mean they recognized the Lion left, so Lion wasn't there at the start of the fight. I had to run all the way back, and there's no tower to TP to. So I think that's what someone just made the call, like, hey, Lion's not there, there's no tower, we should just go. But it ended up with them, you know, it wasn't really very graceful of initiation. It was kind of like, in fact, the Disruptor TP'd in, Lightning to creep, and then like awkwardly glimpsed.
Yeah, Lightning to creep, glimpsed him sideways, and then like put down the kinetic field, and then got bursted. It was really unfortunate.
It was definitely like the right window for them to take the fight. I just think they needed to not start it that way. They needed to be a bit more like coordinated in how they set up to start the fight. But yeah, this Shiki's actually very close to BKB, which will be the Russian, not the SNY actually. And I think that's quite a big item, looking towards these fights, because we're not yet at the point where, if you look at the build-up on Slark, for example, we're not yet at the point where CDEC.Y have the damage to fight through a BKB, I think.
They are starting to get a little bit more right click here and there. I mean, the Slark working towards his Scotty, but it's going to be very important if they can potentially... I was about to say get the jump from the Lion before the BKB comes out, but it feels like Demons really needs to be reserving his efforts for the Ember Spirit in these fights. Otherwise, it feels like Aggressive is just going to get away with way too much. They do manage to head into the pit now. They get the Medallion on the Dazzle, so making pretty quick work of the Roshan, especially with the maxed out Crisp Awareness. That was what I was showing just earlier, that Inflame has actually done fantastically on the levels this game. 7-2 and 4 his overall scoreline as well. We doubted the Abaddon a little bit, but once these 5-on-5 fights started out, he's actually really picked up the pace. He's just thriving. Scant.
Oh, sorry.
Huh?
No, I think that I was muted by mistake. It's what I was saying is that it's definitely something that eHome showed with the Abaddon starting at the major, that teams that are used to constant fast-paced aggression can be punished when they fight into this hero, because like over and over and over in the same fight, it kind of sort of adjusts the maths that you have to work with. Like, okay, they're on this HP, we have this amount of damage, but the short cooldowns of the heal and the shield kind of put you in a situation where it's not the same as dealing with, say, Dazzle's Grave, where K is going to use it once and we need to take that into account. It's over and over and over the HP and survivability of the heroes you're trying to kill changes, and I think it really does make it awkward for teams that are used to just being quite effortlessly aggressive and quick.
Of invisibility.
Yeah, it's really been working out in these fights. He's picked up a point booster here, so it looks like he might actually be rushing a somewhat early Aghanim Scepter, which seems pretty good. Well, it seems alright. There's quite a bit of AoE damage, so it's...
I think it's one of the more underrated Aghanim Scepter upgrades, actually. I mean, maybe we just usually don't see Abaddon in a position to get it. I think it's actually quite efficient value for money if you make the best use of it.
Yeah, he certainly uses the stats very effectively as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing it built up here. Aggressive has picked up a Blink Dagger, so I think that it's kind of recognition that if he gets hexed by the Lion, he's pretty much dead no matter what. You know, he could go for a Linken's, but that's probably too defensive with the way that this game is going. So at least with the Blink, it gives him some kind of a chance against the Nature's Prophet. He could get Orchided and still be able to make his escape, but it also gives him a little bit more confidence. Looks like he's just going to be spending every fight just spamming Side of Fist from the fringes while he lets the tankier heroes kind of sit in the middle.
I think CDEC are very clearly behind right now, and I mean, there's opportunities with the Blink Dagger especially for him to get more slides off in a fight, and there's the Razor I said with BKB that there's not a whole lot to deal with. Those Slark's not finished this Scotty, so that's one way to deal with it. But overall, the dynamic of the game, I almost feel like CDEC, they either need to take a big fight, or they need to stall out the game and get a bunch more items in the Ember Spirit. Like, they're definitely, I think, looking fine in this game if Ember Spirit gets 2 or 3 more items, and he is still the network leader. But it's difficult to see just a standard fight with no amazingly big players from either side going anywhere except for the Dire's favor right now. Especially while the Aegis is still up.
Yeah, the other really scary thing is that now that the Slark has his Scotty, I feel like he can just go straight into Basher Abyssal Blade, and then he is a massive threat for the Ember. Just blink Abyssal, and I don't really feel like CDEC can deal with him, especially since the Ember's so squishy that it may just die in the duration of the Blink Abyssal plus the ultimate and auto attacks from the Slark. So I guess he's gonna have to be really immaculate with the way that he plays these team fights. But actually no, Slark's picked up a Hyperstone, so maybe we'll be seeing a Moonshard coming up next.
It's really awkward for CDEC Classic in this game. They're really not used to being in this kind of position where, I mean, they've played from behind before. They're not always ahead, but they're always in a position where they can make some plays, can go for some kills if they spot them and open up the spaces. And it really feels like the game's closed down on them in that sense at this point. Like, there isn't much opportunity for them to play proactively. They've got to be playing reactively. And where is the gem right now?
They jumped up to Shiki mid lane. We've got the Static Storm Kinetic Field coming out, but Slark doesn't have a care in the world. Just going to keep on draining stats. He is getting his damage drained right back the opposite direction, though. The glimpse is still available here. Slark waiting over in the trees, getting healed back up. They do get the charge over into Demons, and he's going to get bursted down immediately. Abaddon trying to get in position to help him out, but he's just going to be forced to retreat back. They do get the glimpse on the Slark, who is jumping into the back lines, looking for the Disruptor. He's lost quite a bit of damage, and now they've managed to isolate Icy. They're just kiting around the Abaddon and the Slark at the moment, and finding the pickoffs on the supports. They drop the Vacuum and the wall down now, and the charge comes in, catching both. Can they burst down the Slark here? He's losing damage once again. They do get the silence onto Aggressive, and manage to bring him down. It's a 2 for 2 so far. They're kiting around the wall, continuing to fight, but looks like Shiki's just going to get right-click down. They weren't able to evade the Slark and the Abaddon forever, and they will start to turn the fight somewhat. XZ finds a little patch of fog and does manage to TP out, but ends up actually being a favorable fight for CDEC.Y.
Yeah, I think initially when the line goes down so quickly, Aggressive may be thinking, okay, line's out of the picture, now I can like go all out, but getting caught by the Nature's Prophet's awkward, and it's just as effective control. The gem now actually has been picked up by that Nature's Prophet, which was on cue before the fight, and wow, it's really bad for CDEC. It's really bad for them. They should lose Raxus here, and definitely lose control of the game, whatever control they did have.
Yeah, they just couldn't stop the Slark as well. I mean, they dropped the Static Storm off the initial initiation, and that's really the only way that they have to keep him locked down. Especially when you're talking about the Abaddon being able to help him out as well. You know, even if you start getting a little bit of lockdown from the Spirit Breaker, you're just gonna have a shield come in, and it feels like no matter what, the Slark's gonna be able to wreak havoc. I mean, we saw him get static linked twice in that fight. I think both times he lost like 100+ damage, but was just able to stick around and keep right-clicking, keep getting Dark Pacts off, and worked out just fine for him. CDEC just getting out Team Fog, really.
And In Flames actually picked up a Basher now of his own, which will definitely build into Abyssal Blade. It's not going to be a casual Basher, it's just like, you know, why the hell not? This is, you know, getting extra Hex or Abyssal or anything like that is the only real value they need in this game, because each time they lock down the Ember Spirit, it's one step closer to the game ending.
And Ember, for his part, is just picking up more big damage items, I think, realizing that there isn't any opportunity to do this in half measures. XZ in some trouble. They're going to get the charge in on top lane, but not looking to engage any further. They actually get the Sprat over into the Darkseer, and they get the Wrath of Nature bouncing through to cancel the Blink Dagger. That means XZ's going to be stuck here for a little bit longer. One more auto attack does not come out in June. Just going to pop the BKB and TP his way out. Looked like the rest of CDEC Youth were actually somewhat hesitant about committing all the way in there. I think they were worried that all of CDEC, all 5, were actually ready to take that fight.
Which they kind of were. I mean, well, they were on the way anyway. Like, XZ had a TP scroll and Lion wasn't there, and had ample opportunity to TP out, and like, you could see he wasn't TPing. So I think CDEC.Y is the act that, okay, if he's not TPing out, that must mean he's trying to bait us, and just tentative about it, and I think that's fine from both teams.
And Demons are still just chilling on bottom lane for the moment. He's just hoping that the Ember Spirit pokes his head out all by himself, and that they can just kill him with the Prophet TPing in, which I think is actually reasonable. He's got even more lockdown with the Yule Scepter as well to help this out. The CDEC are keeping a bunch of heroes right behind Aggressive, so it looks like they've got a pretty good read on the fact that there might be a jump here, and up right as he comes out, he's just gonna jump himself back to the Spirit, so Aggressive also realizing what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see this lock on the map for a while. You haven't seen the line for ages. Definitely going to be a little bit suspicious about what's going on.
Aggressive just going to keep up the split pushing efforts as much as he possibly can. The Slark has actually gone back for a BKB, so at this point there is nothing that can really deal with him. It feels like he's going to be able to dive in and do whatever he wants in these fights. Disruptor, no Glimmer Cape, no Force Staff, no Ghost Scepter, really nothing to keep him alive. Garter ended up opting just for a Blade Mail, so doesn't really have anything else that's going to be able to help out his team. And this Slark just continues to get bigger and bigger. The Nature's Prophet also looking really good. He's picked up a Maelstrom, and the Abaddon just going to keep on farming away. So CDEC Youth firmly in control of the position on the map right now, and I think just waiting around for Roshan, which is going to be back up in about 5 seconds. Aggressive going to get jumped on mid, but Hex the creep instead of the Lion, who's now going to get glimpsed back out of his Yules. They do end up losing Q. AIM just jumping forward and killing him off.
It's really not been a game for Q here. I mean, we saw that top fight kind of like summed it up, where he TP'd in and the lightning strike on the creep and the weird glimpse, but then he like invested all his gold into a gem, lost the gem, and now he's just kind of become food. I mean, if you just look at the net worth, he's like 3 times poorer than the next poorest person in the game.
Yeah, the gem was definitely a gambit, and it feels like it just didn't work out the way that he was hoping. They were hoping to reclaim map control, give themselves a little bit more room to split push and farm up and get the items that they needed, but it just didn't quite work out. The other big issue is that because the fights have been going so badly, we haven't really been able to see the Darkseer doing anything. You know, in theory, the Darkseer is there because you've got the early mech. He thrives in 5-on-5s, and he's giving you that advantage, but it feels like as soon as CDEC.Y got that Blink Dagger up on the Slark, they were able to take absolutely any fight that they wanted, and I think you do have to chalk up so much of that to this Abaddon pickup. Of course, they've got the Dazzle, but Abaddon's had just an amazing game. You know?
Yeah, so one thing looking okay for CDEC Classic is Aggressive has just picked up his Daedalus.
Right.
It's a very big item. I feel like that's like the signal of the sort of second main peak of the hero starting in the game, when it's really like a serious damage threat with the slide spam. And it is something that's going to maybe deter CDEC.Y, if anything will, from trying to force the high ground. Or at least it'll put pressure on them about how they force the high ground. Because you don't want to sit there and slowly try and chip damage while you're getting slighted over and over. Because then sooner or later there's big crits and maybe you can actually go behind. But it actually looks like the plan for Aggressive is to kill the Nature's Prophet here.
Yeah, didn't quite get the vacuum off perfectly. Still a decent amount of damage. One crit. Is there going to be another? Sleight of Fist comes out. And they are going to be able to bring down the Prophet. Meanwhile, CDEC.Y jumping inside the Radiant base, but Aggressive is already back and ready to fight. Inflame's going to take some damage. Aimed with his double damage. It's just going to focus on the tier 3 tower for the time being. And Aggressive forced to play this nice and safe. XZ drops the wall down. And Inflame trying to decide how he's going to be leaving the base here. He's going to get charged up. Aim goes jumping in. Does manage to pounce in and gets onto Q. Gets out of the Static Storm kinetic field as well. And just going to start laying in with his BKB. Inflame surviving through Slark in the backlines. Finds the double. Aggressive. Back to keep on fighting, but he gets bashed. Is there going to be another one? Gets the Sleight of Fist off and does manage to get the Remnant away. Slark dropping low, but still has the Shadow Dance available to him. And wants this kill onto the Spirit Breaker, but won't be able to find it. Meanwhile, over at mid lane, they've isolated Inflame now. Still fairly tanky, but doesn't have his ultimate up. Shield coming down in 1 second. They've got the vision, and they are going to be able to claim yet another kill. Slark's the only one left now, but they are just going to let him go. He's still got the Aegis. That was, I think, very well fought by CDEC Classic. They knew that there was zero chance that they could do anything to the Slark, so Aggressive just kind of danced around and found the easier kills.
It's a very big fight for them, and it starts off with them actually killing the Nature's Prophet before they return to the fight, because we've said, okay, Nature's Prophet is Orchid that can try and deal with Aggressive, and then there's the Lion, but once one of them's out before the fight even starts, then there's again, you get in that situation where there's only one hero you have to worry about dealing with you, controlling you. Slark will kill Q again, but that's just like, feels like...
That's just his life now.
Yeah.
That's just the
Doesn't really
chain.
say much about the game.
Yeah.
Whereas Aggressive, after the pick off top in that fight, he had just built his Daedalus. He's got another 4k now, so it's another big item if he chooses to spend the gold. Could just be that BKB if he wants to be defensive, or could be most of the way to another big damage item.
Yeah, the really scary thing about the BKB is that it lets him go for the Lion in the back lines, and the Lion can't really do anything about it. I guess he can use himself defensively. Slark coming in, gonna take some damage, gets hit by the bash once. Is he gonna get bashed up again? Does pop the Shadow Dance, but getting vacuumed back. They're draining everything he's got here. Minus 217. And at least while that duration is up, CDEC.Y are not going to be able to push up onto the high ground. The wall is also going to be a problem. Aggressive takes that as his cue to go and get some slip pushing done. Is this Abyssal Blade done just yet in the Abaddon? Not quite. And he won't even be able to get the deny over here on the tower. So Aggressive going to keep on farming up. And CDEC.Y once again stalled. Jump in.
Aggressive's actually building a Scotty. That's I really like this actually.
Oh no, he's got a Lincoln.
Oh no, the Lincolns. Oh, the Orb of Venom belongs to Spirit Breaker. That makes more sense. So Lincoln's doing something similar to BKB in terms of like, this Lion's gonna try and, I mean, the chances are it's the Lion going on yield the Nature's Prophet Orchid is gonna stop. Dazzle's not gonna get close that often. Maybe we'll see Inflame try to nuke it off all the time.
Slark's in here all by his lonesome, but gonna do some pretty good damage, getting drained out. That's the BKB and the pounce used, and this Aegis isn't gonna last all that much longer, so he really wants to stick around here if he can. Sliding Fist coming in, does a little bit of damage to the Slark. He's going to get glimpsed back now. That could be trouble into the Static Storm. He's still got the Aegis. His team just needs to take this opportunity to position themselves. But Abaddon is actually Boots of traveling in right now. Ready to join. They get the Nether Strike back. He does get the Dark Pact off and now turning around to continue right-clicking up. Aggressive is being hexed, but they get the Vacuum to open up some space. Great stun out of Demons. Also uses himself to buy some more time. One more Sliding Fist out of Aggressive. But now he's forced to jump back defensively. Garter tanks up the Finger of Death. Won't be brought down. Darkseer running back. Aggressive blinking in once again, looking for this kill into Icy, won't be able to find it. That's another defensive remnant back, and still hardly any kills in this fight. June TP's in very aggressively. It looks like he will be able to get the right clicks in and finds himself a double, finally paving the way for CDEC.Y to get something done here. Aim gets hit by the charge. Is there going to be a bash? Kinetic field is down, still trapped for the time being. Garter going to pop the Ghost Scepter and see if he can live through this. There is going to actually be a bash. Aggressive now in some big trouble. Will be brought down. No buyback available in XZ. That is that. GG is called. CDEC.Y gonna take this first game.
Yeah, it looked like for a little while in the last couple of minutes that maybe CDEC.Y were like slipping in their execution and giving CDEC Classic a read back into the game. Aggressive maybe starting to look like he could get out of control, and then just then they managed to kill him without the buyback, and that's that. I would be interested to see if CDEC Classic give away the Abaddon again next game. I feel like that's definitely the most important hero in what set the dynamic of this game, put them in this position. Even though it looked like they were dealing with it well early on and managing to kill through the Abaddon's protection, toward the second half of the game, it felt like that hero just like completely controlled the game and completely subverted all the plays that CDEC wanted to make.
Yeah, it really connected so well with the Slark, because you know, often the problem with going for that Blink Dagger first on the Slark is that you're somewhat squishy. Maybe in those initial fights you do find some kills, but you just end up being bursted down. But every single time initiating in, he had the shield ready, the Abaddon was ready to back him up with some heals, and just really let the Slark get out of control. So I definitely agree with you that we might see the Abaddon potentially removed. And we hyped up the Ember Spirit so much as not, you know, there not being very many control factors for him in this game, but it really turned out to be the Slark with that little bit of backup that just ran over CDEC entirely, even with the Disruptor and the Spirit Breakers. So gonna have to see if CDEC can adjust and if they're gonna be coming back in game 2. Thank you very much for watching, guys. This is the Radiant and Dire Cup or the Dire and Radiant Cup. I don't actually remember off the top of my head, but thank you for watching. We'll be back for game 2 coming up next.